Biology class presented by Fatima Convent High School, Chapter 6 Tissues. Now, before understanding the word tissues, let us go back and recall to the word cell. Now, cell is the structural and functional unit of any living organisms. And we studied the structure of cell in detail in the previous chapter. Now, when these cells are specified to perform certain basic functions and work in a group like a teamwork, then these group of cells having specific functions and specified structures are called as tissues. From the last chapter, we recall that all living organisms are made of cells. In unicellular organisms, a single cell performs all basic functions. We know that in an amoeba, a single cell organism can perform the intake of food, gaseous exchange and excretion. But in multicellular organisms, there are millions of cells. Most of these cells are specialized to carry out specific functions. Each specialized function is taken up by different groups of cells. Since these cells carry out only a particular function, they do it very efficiently. In human beings, muscle cell contracts and relax to cause movement. Now, so very clear it is that a cell is a single unit which forms the structure and functional unit of the body, and a single cell can perform many functions together, but that is possible only in unicellular organisms. But in multicellular organisms, where there are complex processes and high demand of energy required, a single cell cannot function. And for that, the cells have to be specialized and have specific function and have to work in a team. And that is given in the example of muscle cells. So we know that all the muscle cells, they contract and relax to cause movement. Same way, all nerve cells carry messages. Blood flows to transport oxygen. So blood is also a group of cells, not a single cell. Food, hormones and waste materials and so on. Similarly, in plants, the vascular tissues, they perform specific function like conduction of food and water from one part of the plant to another part. So multicellular organism show division of labor. We already know the meaning of word division of labor. When a group of tasks is completed by a group of people, it is called as division of labor. Cells specialized in one function are often grouped together in the body. This means that a particular function is carried out by a cluster of cells at a definite place in the body. This cluster of cells is called as tissues and is arranged and designed so as to give the highest possible efficiency of function. Blood, phloem and muscles are all examples of tissues. So you can define tissues as a group of cells that are similar in structure and or work together to achieve a particular function, form a tissue. Now, are these tissues same kind in both plants and animals? Or is there any difference or variation? So, let us compare the structure and function. Do plants and animals have same tissue structure or do they perform similar function? Obviously, the answer is no. There are noticeable differences between the two. Plants are stationary or fixed and they cannot move. Whereas Since they have to be upright, they have a large quantity of supportive tissues. And these supportive tissues are generally dead cells. Opposite to that, in animals which have to move around in search of food, mates, and shelter, and they consume more energy as compared to plants, the most of the tissues are they contain are living. So you can differentiate easily between the plant tissue and animal tissue, that most of them are supportive dead tissues, and in animals most of the tissues are living. That is the first difference. And the reason behind it is plants are stationary or fixed and animals are moving around. Another difference between plant and animal tissue is the pattern of growth. So on the basis of growth, the growth in plant is limited in certain region, while this is not so in animals. There are some tissues in plants that divide throughout their life. These tissues are localized in certain regions. Based on the dividing capacity of the tissues, various tissues in plants can be classified as growing or meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. Cell growth in animals is more uniform, so there is no such demarcation of dividing and non-dividing tissues region in the animals. So on the basis of growth, we can say that the plants have dividing and non-dividing tissues, whereas animals do not have dividing or non-dividing tissues, because the growth is uniform throughout the body, and in plants the growth is non-uniform. Then the third difference you can say is the structural organisms. Organization of organs and organ system is far more specialized and localized in complex animals than even in very complex plants. This fundamental difference reflects the different modes of life pursued by these two major groups of organisms, particularly in their different feeding methods. Also, they are differently adapted for sedimentary existence, and on other hand, plants and active locomotion on the other hand, other animals, contributing to this difference in organ system design. So, again, the third difference is, you can say, on the basis of structural organization of the body, the tissues are different in the plants and in animals. It is with reference to these complex animals and plant body that we will talk about the concept of tissues in some detail. So, you now know and can answer the question, what is a tissue and what is the utility of tissue in multicellular organisms. So, we can easily understand that cell is the fundamental unit of life. But in multicellular organism, a single cell cannot work efficiently to perform all functions because of the complex body structure. And so the cells need to perform cell division or undergo cell division of labor. And for that we need a group of cells, and this group of cells is called as tissues, and they are specified according to their specific functions. Now let us differentiate between plants and animal tissue, as we said. So what can we write about plant tissue? And animal tissue. Now on the basis of structure, or their movement, locomotion, they have supportive dead tissues and they have living cells. On the basis of growth, they have dividing and non-dividing. And on basis of this same thing, they do not have they have structural and functional differences. And here they are complex. Complex structures are seen in the tissues. So you can call this as a difference between plant tissue and animal tissue. Next, we are going to understand plant tissue in detail. Thank you for now.